Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Well, welcome back. I'm sorry we're a little late. I got some stuff that I'll be able to show you, but we have a guest in studio today, and we tried to kind of move things around to make them work in the studio down here in Texas. And we're also late because we went golfing. And so if you're waiting for us, I'll apologize up front. It was Brad's first time golfing ever, and I have to tell you, he did really, really, really well. But before I bring Brad, who is our guest, in, I'm gonna go through a few things. It's not very often that I get to delineate between Jews and Satanic Synagogue of Satan Jews. So I'm actually really happy that Kyle Clark at 9 News in Colorado was able to differentiate these for me. And, you know, I say this over and over and over again. I love living rent-free in the heads of demons and terrorists. And this guy is an Antifa. I don't even know what you call him. He's just a simp. But he is a longtime newscaster for 9 News, if you want to call it news, in Colorado. And I get some fan mail, but I want to play this for you. This is Kyle Clark talking about Tina Peters' legal team launching a new effort to free her from prison, and talking about me being a MAGA podcaster. Nothing to do with any of the other things I've done in my life. I'm now a MAGA podcaster. I just popped out of nowhere, jumped out of my parents' basement at 50 plus years old. Let's go ahead and play it.
Tina Peters' legal team is launching a new long-shot effort to get her out of state prison after an attempt by the Trump administration to free her failed. Peters is serving 9 years on state charges related to tampering with voting systems while she was the elected Republican clerk in Mesa County.
Courts do not generally reward litigants for the volume of pleadings.
Yet that seems to be one strategy for Tina Peters' legal team. Over the weekend, they asked for Peters to be released from state prison because her elderly mother just suffered a bad fall. A week earlier, they asked for Peters to be released because of her health, describing her as pale.
Litigants who file enormous volumes of pleadings do not do the judicial system any good. And they don't do themselves any good either.
9 News legal analyst, longtime criminal defense attorney Scott Robinson says it is not unusual for inmates to make a long-shot request for a medical release or a supervised visit with sick family. But Peters is asking a federal judge to insert himself into a state court case.
I've absolutely never heard of an inmate requesting of a federal court that they intervene in a state case to grant essentially an indefinite furlough on a state conviction and sentence to a felony imprisonment. That's unusual, to say the least.
Not much is usual about Peters' case. Colorado continues to reject pressure and threats from the Trump administration and Peters' supporters who want her freed. Her attorney recently endorsed the idea of a military raid to turn her loose.
I think violence is probably the only solution at this point.
Peters' ally and MAGA podcaster Joe Oltmann is calling for the execution of the governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, referring to them as a, quote, synagogue of Satan Jews. Rhetoric that continues to ramp up with every failed attempt to free Tina Peters.
Certainly, Tina Peters' supporters, including the President of the United States, want to intervene and get Tina Peters out of state court prison. But the reality is that there really isn't any legal basis to do that.
Peters is just more than 1 year into that 9-year sentence. Her scheme to break into Mesa County's voting system and share data with fellow election fraud conspiracy theorists was a failed attempt to find proof of President Trump's election rigging claims.
You know, I see this stuff that comes through with Dominion and what Emerald Robinson broke, and the stuff that has been done by Patrick Byrne and the volumes of fraud evidence that we have that tie back to Dominion voting systems, including people that were a part of that system based out of Venezuela. And it doesn't matter how much information we have, they repeat the same thing over and over again, that it's baseless claims, that this is misinformation, disinformation. That's how you know that everything they're doing is scripted. And sooner or later, Tina Peters is going to get out of jail. And if Kyle Clark keeps going down this path with other people, the general public at large is going to have enough of it. And when they do, you can say all you want that there will not be consequences, but there will be consequences. When all the radicals do is just get out in the street and do horrible things to hurt people in our community and imprison Tina Peters and then make up some gibberish that he does and soundbite me and make it sound like I'm calling for general violence against everyone. I'm not. But just like they have made lists and just like they have persecuted Americans, there are plenty of lists to go around. In the middle of all this, Matt Crane is the head of the Colorado County Clerk and Recorders for the Association for the State of Colorado. Now, this is unusual because Matt Crane was a county clerk and recorder. He also has side gigs where he tries to associate himself with vote by phone systems and getting paid on the side by them. But what makes him unique is that him and his wife never took the same last name. She went to work for Dominion. So typically what happens is you'll have people try to separate themselves when they're doing nefarious things. And that is no different than what Matt Crane has done with his wife. His wife worked for Dominion for over 18 years. And so you have Matt Crane saying that there's nothing to see here. Dominion is safe and secure, the gold standard of elections, while we can see very clearly, mathematically and otherwise, that those elections have been stolen at every level. And sooner or later, we're going to get to a place where all of the evidence that has been collected will be heard. But the one thing standing in the way is people of reason. Well, Matt Crane got out there and he said that all the county clerk and recorders were on board and that all of them supported the idea of keeping Tina Peters in jail. Only that's just not true. Rhonda Braun is the county clerk and recorder for Elbert County. And she's truly one of the most amazing women you'll find and you could meet. She stands up when people would cower and she speaks when others would remain silent. You know, I put this up there earlier today on X and all the other platforms, but I want to read this to you. This is from Rhonda, and it was sent to clarify her position as it relates to Tina Peters. Now, you have people saying that the county clerks and recorders are facing violent rhetoric. And maybe that's true. Most of that probably comes from the radical left who, again, try to piece together things that related to what they think people on the right would actually do. See, we're not ones to actually talk about violence. We're ones to get to the idea that force is necessary in order to eliminate evil. Let me read to you what Rhonda stated. I want to clarify my position objecting to the CCCA letter to Governor Polis. This is not a change in my stance regarding First Amendment rights, nor is it intent to cause division. I fully support Colorado County clerks, and I agree with the work that they work with professionalism, accuracy, and integrity, even under tremendous pressure. I fully condemn any threats to election professionals or their families, and the threatened election officials should be held responsible. In December of 2023, the CCCA issued a call to action that, among other things, called for election deniers to be treated with contempt and disdain. I object to that call to action, and as I believe in protecting First Amendment rights, even if I don't share the same opinion, I stand behind my response to the 2023 call to action. I cannot stand behind the call to deny the federal request on the basis of what Ms. Peters may say. Concerns in the letter to Governor Polis include Ms. Peters would continue disseminating the same false narratives, her pattern of knowingly repeating false claims, and if she were allowed to use the new legal narrative to further these falsehoods. It is stated that Ms. Peters' statements have fueled harassment, threats, intimidation against election officials. I would never minimize the threats to election officials, but I question whether the credible threats received are the results of statements from the Tina Peters. This request from the Colorado County Clerk sends a message that those that are questioning elections should be punished and silenced. I believe clerks and citizens, share the goal of maintaining trust in our elections and elected officials. False narratives can be countered with truth and facts without sending the message that those questions should be silenced. Our Colorado clerks are a great resource to accurate information. I believe the clerks across Colorado are willing to listen and respectfully represent concerns and address them respectfully run to run. You know, Virginia Gumphrey was, she was the one that was raped and trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. She committed suicide last year. She committed suicide because she went and gathered information, much like we've done over the last 5 years. And she said Jeffrey Epstein did all these horrible things to us. And there was a judge back in 2021 that said, oh, yeah, you know what? You're not allowed to actually use any of this information because of how you obtained it. See, the judges in our country are simply rotted to the core. They've stood in the way of progress all the way along. They have been the tools of the coup that have been used over and over again to punish people in America for standing up for true values. Instead, they've stood on the side of gender dysphoria and normalizing what can only be considered freakish behavior by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to waste a whole lot more time talking about this, but I will tell you this. If they have to silence you, if they're going through the efforts of suing you and doing the things that Eric Coomer has done, Dominion has done, and then using basically both sides of the fence in order to hide information by using the legal system and what can only be considered unlawful action in a law environment, a legal environment, and they're not telling the truth, they're hiding their improprieties. And we've caught them over and over and over and over again. The last thing I'll say is that TikTok is purging truth. And why, again, do we not get rid of it when we had the chance? This is a thing that I put up before. Defender of the Public put up a post which talks about what's happening with color revolutions, what's happening in our country. See, TikTok is kind of like that Trojan horse that's allowed to hide information because, frankly, who's going to hold them accountable? Still a Chinese company, still largely owned by people on the outside that are radically left that have been used to silence, hurt, intimidate the American people. We're almost to the point now where we favor the ridiculous over anything else, and that the truth barely, if ever, matters. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. And Brad Skistimas. He is a solo act behind 5 Times August. I listen to his music quite often. And I got a chance to hang out with him when we were in Tennessee at an event. But he is a celebrated singer and songwriter. He's been featured on Fox Business as a do-it-yourself indie expert. And in Billboard People and USA Today, he's the first unsigned artist to distribute his 2007 album, The Independent, in Walmart stores. The music featured on TV films and tours with top acts. Since 2021, man, he's taken the tough road. He's released protest songs targeting COVID policies, Biden, Trudeau, Fauci, with Sad Little Man hitting #1 on Amazon and Apple Music charts. Despite censorship on YouTube and Facebook, his videos continue to get millions of views. He's been featured on Glenn Beck, The Highwire, and The Federalist. He's performed Silent War at the 2022 Defeat the Mandates rally and sang the national anthem for Ben Carson and Trump. He released the Silent War album in 2022, reached #5 on Amazon's bestsellers, and partnered with Bash Records in 2023 for Ain't No Rock and Roll. The latest single, Counterfeit World, is out now. Before I bring Brad on, I'm going to tell you we're going to play this music. And by the way, I better not get copy struck, Brad. I'm just telling you.
You're good.
I better not. I better be able to get past that because I know that they're going to say, take it down. You don't have permission to play that music. Let's go ahead and play this video. This is Counterfeit World. Amazing song. Let's play it.
We've got counterfeit boys dating counterfeit girls, making counterfeit love in a counterfeit world. Counterfeit news for the actual fools who believe and obey all the counterfeit rules. Who's got It's a counterfeit world. Counterfeit seeds growing counterfeit food. Counterfeit meat tasting counterfeit good. Counterfeit drugs in our actual blood. We don't know what it means. We don't know what it does. Who's got the power? Who's got control? Who's talking truth? Does anybody know? Who's in the shadows? Who cuts the deals? Who writes the script? Is any of it real in this counterfeit world? It's a counterfeit world. It's a long way back when you feel all the real is gone. It's a long way back when you feel all the real is gone. Who's got the power? And who's got control? We've got the power, so let's take control. We've got counterfeit gods for our counterfeit faith, counterfeit fear for the counterfeit slaves, counterfeit cash spent on actual crap. It's a genuine steal when it don't actually last. Who's got the power? Who's got control? Who's talking truth? Does anybody know? Who's in the shadows? Who cuts the deals? Who writes the script? Is any of it real in this counterfeit world? It's a counterfeit world. It's a counterfeit world. It's a counterfeit world. It's a counterfeit world. It's a counterfeit world.
Probably one of my favorite songs. And because it adequately describes where we are. I'm not going to waste any more time. Brad, welcome.
Thanks. Awesome to be here.
So Counterfeit World.
Yeah. There it is.
You're super talented in a lot of different ways. I don't think everyone understands it's the things that you've done, especially to kind of counteract this cultural warfare against children. But you didn't take the easy road. You just said, I'm going to take the hardest road possible when it comes to putting out my music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been an indie artist from the get-go since I started 5 Times August back in 2001. So I was 18. And, the idea back then was to get the record deal and get the radio hit single and stuff. But through the arc of my career, the trajectory of it, we've had these tools, the internet came into play and we have all these things. So I ended up staying independent, which is hard enough as it is. But then, once COVID came around, I found myself in another position where it was, I can either keep my mouth shut and, work to keep what I've built contained, or say something that I feel like needs to be said, which caused a rift in everything I had built up to that point.
So did you wake up one day and say to yourself, I'm going to write music that describes how 95% of the world feels?
No, I decided to write how I felt. So most of my career as a songwriter has been, pretty middle of the road statements, ballads, love songs, a lot of songs that were placed easily on a lot of MTV shows. And, that's where a lot of my music aligned, the college market and stuff. And then I switched gears. I did children's music for a few years because I became a dad. That's where my heart was, and felt like there was something missing there. And COVID rolls around, and my idea of how the world worked, and the idea that we had this a baseline understanding of humanity, that we all understood you don't really believe in the government and you don't really believe what you see on the news. I started sort of seeing that fall away because I'm seeing people that I thought were smart, going along with this narrative that was happening throughout COVID. And so it was kind of shutting me down creatively, honestly. I had tried to write a song that was very hurrah, and it was called "We Are in This Together." Put that out at the beginning of COVID, which wasn't really a
Yeah, I didn't like that song.
so yeah, which was funny because it is coming from a place of like, it wasn't pro COVID by any means. In fact, I liked "We Are in This Together" as a statement at the time, because I was also writing it as the to get her statement, which was subliminal with Hillary at the time. So I wasn't really siding with anything that was happening, but it was sort of my last ditch effort to say, hey guys, you know, let's work together. And then what happened shortly after that was, not only COVID, but you had George Floyd. And then, this kind of naive outlook that I had on the world crumbled, and it shut me down for about, I don't know, 8 months to a year. And then I sat and prayed on it and was like, what do I say, at this time? And I really just felt this calling, so to speak. And I wrote this song called "God Help Us All," and I put that out in early 2021, in 2021. And I was saying stuff I had never said in my music before to an audience that was used to hearing me just sing one way. And that I thought I was also, though, trying to still kind of be careful, but I was saying things they didn't expect me to say. And that
Did you get any pushback on the "We're all in this together" and people like "Speak for yourself"? Was there any was there any people that were like, come on now, we're not in this together though?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I wasn't even sure if I really believed it myself at the time. It was just an effort to put something good out during that time,
Yeah.
eh, and still play it safe. That's the thing about it, was my career up to a certain point, because as an indie artist, to be making it on your own and stuff, like, you have to sort of figure out what your audience is and what you're doing, and do that and do it well. And I had never rocked the boat, so to speak. And all of a sudden, I put out "God Help Us All," and I rocked the boat. I rocked the boat hard, and it was a wake up call to me, because what I was really doing was just venting, for 5 minutes in that song, thinking I just have to say this, and then I'll just go back to doing what I'm doing. And what it did was change the trajectory of everything I was doing, and I lost a bunch of fans, gained some new ones. But it woke me up to the fact that there was no conversation to be had with a lot of these people that were following me. It was a door was closed, immediately. "I'm never listening to your music again. Why would you say that?" Because I was starting to get more vocal.
You were vocal in what you said, but let's just put it out there. The messaging, as you start looking at some of the songs that you put out, and "Hey Joe,"
Hmm. Hmm.
which is a tribute to Joe Biden and just some of the ridiculousness that he
Hmm.
was putting out in his 4 year, what I consider an illegitimate term.
Hmm.
But there's so much pain, there's so much anger. You can almost feel it right now.
Hmm.
And so you're writing songs, and people are listening to the songs, and people are, I believe, didn't want, again, nobody wants the truth to get out there. So you have people that are like, hey, I'm never going to listen to you again, as if you were going to just, you know, reverse course.
Hmm.
Did that ever cross your mind? Okay, I'm going to stop doing this. This is too controversial. I'm just going to walk away.
No, the opposite happened. Was every time I got pushback, I leaned more and more into it. So, like, if you listen to that album, Silent War, that is a series of those singles that I put out. If you listen to it from the beginning to the
We
end,
listened to it today.
yeah, we did. So from beginning to end, those songs are in the order that I released them throughout that time. And you hear me go from "God Help Us All," "Jesus, What Happened to Us," which are sort of soft prayers saying,
Yeah.
gosh, we need help, to "I Will Not Be Leaving Quietly," which is me going like, all right, you can push back, but I'm going to push back harder, and I'm committed to this now. To starting to directly call out people, Joe Biden and Trudeau, and um, Fauci was a big one. Once I wrote "Sad Little Man," and that started going viral. That really put me into another tier of censorship online that I had only heard about.
Did you get canceled by YouTube?
I had been hardcore suppressed. So like Sad Little Man, that video put me in that category where people were writing me and they were like, I can't find your video. And I'm searching for my own video. And I just,
Can't find it.
I can't find it. So that happened. They removed the Gates Behind the Bars video. They completely took that down. And I just recently uploaded it a few weeks ago, and it's still there now. But yeah, I mean, all those things happen. Wikipedia deleted the 5 times August page, and
Oh, I have a really good Wikipedia page.
yeah, I'm back up now. That's the funny thing is now I made it through it, and now those things those places where I was censored, it's okay now. When you're calling it out in the heat of the battle, you can't do it, and you'll be attacked, and you'll take those bullets. But it feels, you feel a little vindicated on the other side of it now because no one's really talking about COVID, and the damage has been done. So he can have his Wikipedia page back, and you can call out Bill Gates because whatever. But in the midst of all that, it was a wake up call for me personally to realize how the world really works, because I wasn't really a political person prior to COVID either.
Yeah.
And what it was I just felt like I was calling out what was true and what was right and true. And as a father, in that time going, well, geez, if this is the trajectory we're going, I better say something so my kids don't look back and go like, God, what did you say at that time? What did you do? I felt like I couldn't, just be like, well, I didn't do anything, because a lot of people didn't do anything, especially in the entertainment industry. They either didn't say anything at all, or they joined the regime and they, they got paid promotions and they made Pfizer commercials and,
And they did stuff there. I mean, we watched David's video last night, David Clement's video
Mhm.
last night. He talks about the apologetics for China and the fact that our movies are being created to indoctrinate us or get us to normalize some of the things that we see happen after that. And going all the way back to, the 1999, then 2001, we had the World Trade Center, but they talked about it in 99, 2 years before that.
Mhm.
And it happened to have a plane that was running into the World Trade Center, and all of a sudden that became something that happened. So they manifested, this tragedy that killed over 3,000 Americans.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that we will get to a place where we can heal, given what we've gone through for those 5 years, or do you think that there's still a pound of flesh to be paid for crimes committed against Americans? And I'm not even talking about Americans, actually. I should say against everybody
Mhm.
globally.
I think that humanity as a collective, something has to happen where we wake up to our relationship with one another and what we're doing and how manipulated we are. And I think people are slowly catching on to that little by little by little.
Yeah.
With examples like that, we're all aware that Hollywood and entertainment is a show, and it's permeated through our real life scenario every day, and that manipulates us, and there's a show being played out every day to create division and fear. And I think that it reached some sort of, I don't know if it was the peak of it during COVID, but it definitely divided families. That
I mean,
politics.
mother from father, people got divorced.
Oh yeah.
Kids
Oh yeah.
from their parents. I mean, this is
Right.
you're talking about the single most impactful event that's happened in human history.
Yeah.
Outside, at least in U.S. history, but I would say human history.
Mhm.
Outside of either the fall of Rome or the death of Jesus. I mean, that was definitely a dividing
Right.
deal. But this has got to be up there on
Right.
the amount of harm that it did to humanity.
In our lifetime, no doubt, like it was a worldwide event. It impacted everybody in every country one way or another. And there's been zero accountability for it, not just here, anywhere. not a single person in any country anywhere has been held accountable for any one single decision. But we can all look back now and go, well, that was ridiculous. The stickers on the floor and whatever.
But
And
you have people that have come out and said that we need to forgive. We didn't know, this needs to be a point of forgiveness. That was the Washington Times reporter
Mhm.
that put that out there.
Right.
I can't,
Amnesty,
Brad, I
yeah.
can't do it.
Mhm.
I can't.
Yeah, it's a hard thing because those people are the ones that, called you and me murderers. And that's the problem, is it's become so divided that, some people are looking this way with their arms shrugged, and they don't want to talk to you. And then we're over here going, well, fine, I don't want to talk to you. And so is there a way that we can turn around and be like, hey, look, that was a little too much. But it's hard when you had people that you know and love that should know where your heart was, especially back then for me in my music career, and fans that had been following me for years that really should have known who I was at that point, to not just lump me into a vat of craziness and be like, oh, he's a dangerous. I don't know what happened to Brad, but he's a selfish murderer now. And who wants to turn around and look at themselves and go, God, maybe I said a little too much back then. Maybe I was just a little worked up. Because now looking back, you can say, like those people were hoping I would die based on my decisions. And so that's a very dark place for a lot of people to be, and so they don't want to acknowledge that. And the further away we get from that time, this is where I have the biggest issue with it, is that was 4 straight years of that worldwide. And nobody wants to talk about it anymore.
And nobody wanted to do anything about it either. They acted like this is normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As in what we went through was normal. Then what our children went through was normal. And then we saw this indoctrination happen in the schools where it was more important to have a pride flag up than it was to teach them basics about arithmetic and science and English.
Yeah, it just spiraled out of control from there. It's kind of like COVID warmed up the world for more craziness. Nothing will, like the world prior to COVID is a completely different place. And I often say now that period was a little bit of a simpler time because it was so focused on just COVID was kind of just like the thing everybody was talking about and was dealing with. But then you had more racial riots piped in, and then wars stacked onto each other, and the Afghan withdrawal and over the last, I would say, 3 years, it's the insanity has accelerated, and it happens at such a quick pace. It's a 24-hour cycle. And so you don't even have the time to process and address what is even happening anymore. So nobody has the time or the brain capacity to think about how they were behaving and the relationship that they dismantled 5 years ago, let alone a week ago, because it just keeps hitting us each and every day. That's where a lot of counterfeit world comes from, is, we're living inside this show.
Okay, so why we live in this show? We can all agree that this show is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we can agree that there's a certain that we're never going back. We can't go back to 2019. Can't go back to even early 2020. I mean, they set the stage, and it's like a powder keg. They've already lit the fuse. There's no going back on this fuse. But as we start looking at the things that are happening in our community right now, we can't even grasp at reality because it's a moving target. They've literally attached it to I don't know, those little squiggly things that just kind of roll over and your dog can't catch it, right? That's what our society has become.
Right. Yeah.
Did you give up a little bit of joy? You find yourself when you look around feeling like it's the joy that you have dulled just a little bit because you're like, man, how do we? Because you're thinking about how do we get out of this?
Yeah. Well, I think if you spend enough time observing the state of the world, especially as I have, writing about it, you ultimately, I mean, for me personally, end up on the other side going, well, just enjoy your family, start taking care of your own house, pray more, spend more time with God, and you kind of simplify your life back down to what really matters, because the problem is so huge. And I was talking about this yesterday, was that I'm a project oriented guy. So, part of speaking out during that time and that project is like there's supposed to be an end result where, the car you've been working on is finished, or the accountability that you're hoping for shows up, people are arrested, all's good, all has been revealed, and we can all go on celebrating. And that doesn't seem to be in the cards. So at that point, you go, well, what really matters? What is the truth? Because as you're talking about, reality gets tossed around, and that's where a lot of faith comes in, because that is what's true. That's where you're our world is so diluted and weird and insane that you can have a conversation for 3.5 hours and end up like like I did yesterday on the way down here, and ultimately land on, all that really matters is just taking care of your family and God, and between those two things, make sure your house is in order, and enjoy that time, and you start to just enjoy what is in front of you, the reality of, the weather, a nice day, and take a step away, because we're all sucked into our phones anyway. And then you start to think that that is the way the world works. But if you go and take a walk, you realize you can walk by your neighbors and say hi, and you can have a conversation with them, and you don't have to talk politics. And it's actually a pretty sane world after all. It's that we keep getting these nuggets of insanity tossed our way every single day to focus on.
All right. So, yes, there is a thing to be said for, God says God first
Hmm.
and family.
Hmm.
It's very clear what the line is.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that you'd have to sacrifice. We talked about this yesterday. You'd have to sacrifice your family, but the idea that you can focus on your family, and this is where I get sideways with people in my community all the time, because I said, well, that you can't ignore what's happening outside your home,
Hmm.
or sooner or later it'll consume you.
Hmm.
Pastor Martin Niemöller, way back, had this poem. It is "First They Came." You heard that poem?
Go ahead and say.
So first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist.
Hmm.
Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist.
Hmm.
And they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could turn this around, and you could see the innate evil that we have in our communities. It's you could taste it.
Yeah.
And yet we have people that are just retreating into their homes saying, it doesn't, I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm just going to I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to ignore it.
Hmm.
Right? You can't run away from it anymore. It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm saying to run away from it. I'm saying you can't let it control your mood, who you are every day.
Yeah.
It's too easy to give into that. In fact, my approach has been, especially through the music, is to laugh at it.
Yeah.
I mean, laugh in the face of it. I think the thing is that more people need to have the balls to do that.
But Charlie did that.
Yeah, he did.
And then they killed him.
That's true. And I think that you have to be willing to do that. I mean, like, what good is the world that you're allowing to happen for your kids? I think that, that's a huge thing to me. That's the driver for me. I have 3 kids, right? So what is the world that I'm trying to create for my kids? And that's where I find happiness and joy. That's what I want for them. And I'm not saying to ignore the world around you. You have to be aware of it. But find out what it is that you can do to fight back, and do everything you can.
What can they do? I mean, you speak out through your music, and the music is amazing. Right now, I'll listen to it over and over again, and I'll play it when I play golf with people, just so I can mess with them. But I mean, what is the thing? I think that's the thing that grips most of our society, is they don't know what that thing is.
Well, I think everybody has something different, and you have to figure out what it might be out of your comfort zone. Writing those songs when I was writing at the beginning of COVID, that was out of my comfort zone. But it soon became a part of me, and I became stronger through it. And so you have to at least be willing to take a step forward and, say, I will stand up and do this thing. A lot of people found that they were able to do that throughout COVID. Teachers and doctors and, certain scientists. And I think within our communities, at least creating a camaraderie, you know, um, you mentioned a fraternity, a brotherhood. Um,
Yeah, we talked about
it-
that this morning. We had out the call.
yeah. I think that we have to get back to that and understand that it's going to take effort. We have rallies and events around this country all the time for different reasons, one way or another. Sometimes people don't show up for very important reasons. They don't even want to get off the couch to go out and make their voice heard anymore. Maybe that a lot of that has to do with January 6th, because that was designed to make us retreat and go, well, we can't go outside and use our freedom of speech because they'll arrest us and put us in jail for 4 years.
And they did that.
Yeah,
They did that.
they did that.
They did it during COVID. I mean,
Mhm.
all leading up to the election,
Yeah.
they threw people in jail who
Mhm.
stood up for the basic rights that you have as God-given rights.
Mhm. Right. But what would have happened if we were strong enough as a society to step forward again, to lean into that soon afterwards again and say, well, you can't do that, because what happened to me was, I think I went to DC when January 6th, 2020,
2021.
2021. Yeah. So I was in DC a year after that, in about the same area for a big rally, and about 34,000 people.
Okay, what brings 30? Okay, keep going, because I want to ask you a question about that.
This was Defeat the Mandates rally in DC, January 2022.
Two.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful day, a lot of unity, a lot of things that you were told didn't exist. You could see permeating through the crowd that day. No violence, voices heard, good turnout. Um, and it, we're capable of doing that. But, when I would say I'm going to be there immediately, well, you better be careful. Are you, oh, you're going to DC for a rally. Well, you don't need to go. You should probably stay home and be, that's the kind of feedback that you would get from
From a lot of people.
a lot of people.
Online and people in your circle.
Right. And that happened to every rally that I would go to. People, well, you better be careful. I went to other countries even, and it's like, well, and we're just wrapped up in this fear. We're not in warrior mode, so to speak, of like charge. That's how I felt the last 5 years. However, I can do that, charge. And musically, I did it. When I was asked to go to an event and a rally, if I could be there, I would be there. I'd just be there however I could. I said yes to a lot of things that took me away from my family, that I missed soccer games and important things in my life. And, you have to find that balance. How much do I give over here, and how much, do I not forget that, there's the people I'm fighting for. But, yeah, I think that collectively, I don't know how we get there, but I think that's kind of the mindset, is saying, stop putting up with so much crap.
So you 34,000 people showed up for this event,
Hmm.
and then they went home,
Yeah.
and then what?
Hmm.
Now you get my point.
The thing is, it played a part. The problem is, so if you had told everybody at that rally, hey, in a few years, Trump gets back in and Kennedy is head of the HHS, you would have seen cheers,
Mhm.
and it would have been exciting. The problem is now those people are in, and now I'm frustrated because the accountability hasn't shown, itself in 10 months and 11 months into this thing. And so it just feels like the game has started over, or the show has started over, or whatever it may be. And so you're just kind of left with the same amount of problems. But at the same time, that show, what we're witnessing right now with this administration, it's going to happen the same way we survived through the Biden administration. You can get caught up in certain things and let them control you,
Right.
but life does carry through and carry on, right?
It does, but there's degradation that we have happening in our society. It's easy to see.
Mm-hmm.
And for you and I, it doesn't really matter. I mean, my life's more than half over. Your life's more than half over. I mean, maybe you can live for 100 years and it's less than half over. But let's be realistic. We're living our life for our children.
Mm-hmm.
Even as we sit here and have this conversation, the disappointment is setting in for lots of Americans on the last 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you look at it, do you have any music that you're thinking about? Okay, I'm gonna make another song, and this time I have to make it about what's happening with the Trump administration because, yeah, you see the great things that Kennedy's doing. You have the great things that Pete Hegseth is doing. But Pete Hegseth is you have an active coup of generals against Pete Hegseth. Kennedy, they're trying to kick out, and you have this whole resistance that's been created.
Mm-hmm.
It is a coup.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not addressing the coup. And I'm not even talked about Pam Bondi. I haven't talked about, Kardashian Patel
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
Dan Bongino. I mean, these guys are circus clowns.
Mm-hmm.
They're circus clowns.
Yeah.
So you have some bright spots, but you can't even get a woman out of jail with proof of election fraud. And they won't even address it. They won't even sniff the butt of it and say, hey, this is what has to happen. They won't even admit that Dominion's a problem with 20 whistleblowers.
Mm-hmm.
They won't even do it.
Yeah. How does the public keep the pressure on and make their voice loud enough to not let the administration ignore it?
But the administration is filled with Judases. It's filled with people that are gathering up their shekels.
Mm-hmm.
People that had jobs before they got involved in the administration. I mean, Pam Bondi was down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you have we're not getting to the bottom of the nonsense that we have. We have people that were out of jail 25, 30, 35, 40 times, 20 felonies, 25 felonies, setting people on fire. Yeah. I mean, George Floyd, the guy literally tried to stab a pregnant woman and robbed her. Mm-hmm. And this is the type of person that we put on a pedestal and gave a gold casket to. I mean, make it make sense to me. Please help me make it make sense.
I can't. I'll have to just write a song and let you interpret the lyrics. But yeah, I mean, that's the crazy world that we're in. I can only say that, broadly speaking, we just have to we have to make the government scared of us. We
tried that. We went January 6th. We got showed up. And they sent out 200 FBI agents, and then they locked up 800 Americans, and they had them raped and beaten and thrown in the gulag. And we know that we have a problem in the judiciary. And I'm sorry to challenge you with this, but you've seen the same thing I have.
Yeah.
And it becomes debilitating because you're just like, okay. And then they wonder when we say, let's just get to the violent part because it's already violent. When they killed Charlie Kirk, they shot at President Trump, not once, but twice they went after him. Mm-hmm. And that's just the ones that we know about.
Yeah.
And so why? Why is President Trump? I mean, and I look, I'm asking this question as a rhetorical question because I know you're like, Joe, I don't have a clue.
I don't know, Joe.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
We just can't seem to get to be about it. We can't seem to get people together and say, well, let's go have a rally. Okay, now we're done. Who's playing football tonight?
Mm-hmm. Well, my question with Trump is there is a constant flow of justification towards Trump. And every time, people have an excuse for him. The wrong people are around him, right?
Trust the plan.
Let him cook. You got to have patience. And that's the reason why I think we're here now. I have had that thought, like, well, maybe what if we didn't have patience? Would Charlie Kirk still be here?
Yes.
Would the woman who committed suicide,
Virginia Gumphrey.
yeah, would she still be here?
Yes.
And that is where my frustration lies, because I started calling out the administration. I said on X, I was like, look, I'm going to critique this administration more than the last one. And I think you should too. And you need to call them out because too much is on the line. And we don't have time to waste. We just don't. And, I think what we saw was started off hot and Doge came in and we're going to save you money. And look how corrupt it is. And I was like, well, if it's that corrupt and we're wasting all this money, who's going to be held accountable for it? Well, nobody. But wait, we're setting the scene. It's this constant carrot that's being dangled to make you wait a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And had we not, and we just said, look, we don't have time. If you're going to be in here for 4 years, if it's going to be different, then make it different and start doing different things. And, we're going to call you out on it. And so with Trump, I think you have to stop making excuses for him and you have to burst his bubble. I think the public has to burst his bubble because a lot of times you hear he doesn't get the information. Maybe he doesn't know the COVID shot's bad. He knows.
You asked me that question, like, Joe, why haven't we gotten to the COVID shot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't think it's actually a good idea. He can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But then he praises the head of Pfizer.
Right. Yeah.
I keep coming back to what I said yesterday. Mm-hmm. President Trump was asked the question, do you think you're going to go to heaven?
Mm-hmm.
And he answered the question, no, I don't think I will.
Mm-hmm.
So is he just, does that mean he's selling himself out?
What is he saying there? Is he saying, I've done a lot of really bad stuff? And what is that stuff? Or I don't know what that means. But as a Christian, you would want to say, I sure hope so. That should be the answer. I'm hoping. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just think we have to stop making excuses. I think that a part of what happened over the last 5 years that people have, you saw, I'm not a huge social media. I wasn't prior to COVID. Being on social media, I became a keyboard warrior, as a lot of people did. And I devoted a lot of time to, using my platform to speak out. But what I've noticed is that people get comfortable kind of just saying, enjoy the show. Here's another popcorn meme. LFG, let's effing go. Here, all this stuff. And I think that what people have been conditioned to just sort of accept that as their reality. We're working towards something. None of us know when it is and when it will come to fruition. But you just wait. I'm not going to do anything. I'll be right here behind my computer enjoying the show. And that seems to be, one of the main problems right now is that we're all just kind of moseying along as nothing really happens.
Well, it's true. Nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out that every single time something has been put forward, you have the Comey indictment,
mm-hmm.
and they said that the lawyer was inappropriately assigned to the case.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, remember, they used the 1512, which was an Enron interfering with getting to information about Enron against J6ers in a completely different, it had to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and it took years to get that overturned. And in that time, people's lives were ruined. They lost their homes, they lost their marriages, they lost their children. They had people commit suicide. This was not a victimless crime. These are treasonous traitors that did huge amounts of harm to our people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And yet,
yeah,
we every single time we turn left, turn right, you have radical leftist judges that are standing in unison. They have their own unions, the ACLU. They just come in, and ADL and all these different groups get together, and they're like, yeah, we're going to stop you from doing this, and we're going to file a lawsuit. And they knock on their head and rub on their belly a couple times, and then all of a sudden the judge is like, I rule in your favor.
Mhm. Yeah. So what do we do about it? I mean, at what point do you
You
say
throw out 40,000 judges? That's what
you throw them out, right? And that's the solution. So why isn't it being done?
That's my whole point. Is we're at war,
Yeah.
and yet we don't act like we're at war.
Yeah.
We let them walk all over our people.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think people need to understand is I think a lot of people, especially in our community, understand we're at a war. They don't understand that they are on the front line of that war, I don't think, because their life is being ruined by, they're the first ones to go in this war. And I say to you, to what do you owe our leaders in DC to be at the front line of this war?
I don't think we owe them anything.
Right.
That my whole my mindset on what they're doing just leads me down this path where I'm like, all right, hold on a second. Let me think this through. So what you're telling me is that I have to tolerate the dysfunction of government to the point where it kills off people in my community, hurts my own family, and allows them to act with impunity while they're suing us anytime we get out of line.
I'm not saying that.
No, but that's
Yeah.
what the actions are showing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter if Biden could have gotten another 4 years. It wouldn't have mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing over the last 11 months has manifested itself to a place that has given the relief back to the people.
Right.
Have you gotten any relief?
No. And I mean, that's the thing that I ask people is like, has that psychological relief happened? Are you able to pay for your does your day-to-day feel better? Because it really doesn't. But where they find that relief, I think, is in the sound bites.
Right.
It's what those little bits from their social feed that make them go, all right, things are happening. Just a little thing for the day.
Well, I mean, come on, man. What President Trump had an announcement that he had to make, right?
Yeah, today.
What was the announcement? Tell everyone what the announcement was.
As far as I could tell, the announcement was Trump accounts. Like that's the problem is every day Trump's got a big announcement. He's about to do it. Here we go. LFG, fire flames, popcorn. Here we go. He's going to announce it. Accountability. Nope. Trump accounts for kids, $250. This is going to change everything. And psychologically, it makes you like, for those that are super supremely devoted and loyal to that brand, they're going to go, okay, well, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Okay. This is good. And because they're so thirsty, they're frothing at the mouth for something good. This is probably just part of change. It's another thing that's good. We're on a good trajectory. And so it was, I mean, as far as I know, that was the big announcement today. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they know, but last time, there was a big announcement. It turned out to be gold sneakers. So that's the pattern. And how many times can you put up with that before you go, you know what, maybe I need to stop doing this to myself? And that's where I've landed. I entertained a lot of this stuff for a long time. And I gave it, I said, I started feeling in my gut, about halfway through last year. I don't know if I can, but I've been in circles where people that know Trump, people that know Kennedy, and I felt like I owed it to them to sort of see it through and to have an optimistic outlook on the future. And I was like, you know what, like January 20, I'll see it through. And like I said, if it was going to be different, we would have seen it right away. And we would know by now, 11 months into it, we would have something. The momentum would be building substantially. Because if you have 4 years to make a difference and untangle decades of corruption and everything else that we're waiting for, we would be feeling that momentum, I think. It's not going to just kick into overdrive. We're starting election season next year. That's where the attention's going to be.
So I mean, at this rate, Republicans will stay home.
For the election?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it'll be the lowest turnout on the right.
You know why?
I think because they're just all realizing what we're talking about.
Because people like me were like, well, why would we vote?
Yeah.
Why would we vote? Let's just get to it. Let's get to the point where you go back to crazy, and let's get people so in pain
Mm-hmm.
that they're just like, I mean, pardon my language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get a case of the you got big problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that go to prison, get out on parole.
Mm-hmm.
They have 1, 2, 3 bad things happen. They're like, they get a case of that, and they just go hog wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are dealing with something so, and we've already described it, Brad. We've already said that there's good versus evil.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has agreed that that's what we're dealing with, and yet no one inside the administration will lift a finger in order to basically defeat this evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we have a midterm election. He's as good as dead at the end of 2026 in a dead meaning that he'll be impeached.
Mm-hmm.
Given all the things that we're dealing with right now. And you haven't gotten to the machines or mail-in ballots or the elections.
Mm-hmm.
And you slow walk it because and we get these announcements. I'm looking at Truth Social and look, I'm a big proponent of President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, man, you got to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Well, this is where my brain starts to go, oh gosh, maybe he's just part of the show, because this was the conversation prior to the last election. We didn't do anything to fix the situation between 2016 and 2020.
No.
But then our guy won. And so, well, then I guess it works again.
Do it.
Yeah. And so it's fine. We got our way. So let's just.
And you talk about it being your guy, right? And that it's our guy. It's like a football team.
Yeah.
It's like we're not really fighting for the values that Americans represent.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these conversations with people on the left and the right, and I'm like, listen, is education a problem? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is food deserts a problem? Yes. Is opportunity deserts a problem? Yes. You had a young kid that Nikki Haley's son got up on Fox News and said, listen, there's no opportunity. There's literally no opportunity for kids. I have guys that get Ivy League degrees, get out of school. I won't even hire them. Like a guy gets out of school and he goes to an Ivy League school. The first question on my thing is, what's your political leanings? They're like left. I'm like, have a nice day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a real problem we're facing right now because they want to get out of school and feel like I can make $80,000 a year. And I'm like, you have no experience in anything. You're going to start like everybody else did at $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. $40,000 a year and hope that you get an opportunity to do something better.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're dealing with right now.
Right. No, I think that something has to significantly, we have to reverse engineer where we're at somehow. I think America is getting to this critical breaking point where we can, how, if you're working on a car and you realize it just isn't starting up and you keep tinkering away at it, at some point you have to realize you're doing something wrong. And America is this system that has continued to go and go and go and build and build and build. And there's these layers and layers of lies and corruption that go far into our past.
Right.
And we're getting to, I often compare it to, call it the Zach Morris effect. If you remember Saved by the Bell growing up. But, every episode was, he tells a lie. The lie becomes too big for him to handle. And then it falls over and he has to confess the truth. And that's where the story resolves. And I think that that's where where America's getting to. Too many years of that. It can't hold the weight anymore. And so something is going to change in that effect where we have to we're going to be put in a position where we have to rebuild some portion of how this country runs. Because if we don't, we're just not on a good path.
Okay. You've gone through this path for the last 5 years. And you have 3 children. Married. You got a minivan.
2 minivans.
2 minivans. Your
Mhm.
children are young. Your son's, I think, in his early teens.
Yeah, my oldest is 13. Yeah.
Let's skip ahead 10 years. Let's just like look ahead 10 years, and your
Mhm.
son's 23 years old.
Mhm.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing for your children?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a tough question. It's impossible to answer. I mean, hope, really, it has to be, my only answer is a vague outlook on family and faith, that
Yeah.
they're tied to that. But what does success look like? I don't know, because technology is moving so fast. AI is now, at the precipice of everything, and that's going to change. We have no idea what the jobs are going to look like in the future, what jobs are going to be taken away, what jobs are going to be added. It just seems like we're getting really good at making ourselves obsolete. Like that's what humans are really good at. We take all these gifts we've been given, and instead of appreciating it and going, wow, this is great, we go, you know, hamburger meat's really great, but I bet I could print a really nice hamburger that, and we try to outdo God's work. And so that's another point that we're at. It's just another layer caked on top of everything, where you can't even envision, when I was a kid and in the 80s, I would think, oh man, we're going to be in space. We're going to be having gardens on Mars. And so, we're not quite there yet. But you had a certain outlook on the future. I don't know how, a parent or a kid envisions the future at this juncture, other than just, the generalities of faith and family, and knowing that that's where the bed you have to really, the, the cloak you have to wear moving into whatever it is.
Let's hypothetically say you're right. That we don't know. You still have to look 10 years ahead. Do you think it's a positive outlook in 10 years? Are you trying to figure out, okay, I got to find ways are you moving chess pieces on the table? Are you trying to say, okay, I'm going to focus in on music in a different way? I mean,
Mhm.
and we talked about this last night too. Everyone gets to that place where you have to start looking
Mhm.
and going, all right, well, I did my part. I gave my shot. I gave people a
Mhm.
message that I think resonated and gave them the ability to know they weren't alone.
Mhm. Yeah.
Your kids are hitting adulthood.
Yeah. Well, naturally, I mean, I'm an optimist. And so, I think you have to.
I've listened to some of your music. It started out optimistic.
But it's still there sitting in me, like I'll tell you how it is. I'll put it, and it won't sound, like the world's in a good place, but I write that music to change hearts and minds, to create a better place for our future, for our kids' future. And that's the purpose of it. It's not to make you go, oh God, the world's crappy and I give up, but the song's good. It's
Yeah.
supposed to go, oh wow, like, yeah, this is true. We got to do something about this. So the future to me, I can only hope that it's good. I envision good things. As far as my role in it, like we talked again about it last night. I've put out a certain kind of music over the last 4 years, what you would, I guess, call protest music, and
Right.
prior to that, I was doing children's music. And that was the best thing I could put out into the world, was music for my kids, from my heart as a father, to teachers, to parents. And I just put it out there without really thinking this is a business. This is this is what I have to give to people. And that's kind of how I feel like looking into the future is I go, well, maybe I should do more of that and start focusing on the next generation. That's where I feel like we can really make a good impact on our future. Is I feel like there's a lost generation between mine and my kids. There's a lot of this the woke generation is a lost generation, and they don't understand their potential. They've been confused. Their foundation has been messed with. And I think that, that's where my focus is going to be, is not just on my kids, but that next generation, and getting back into family entertainment, and putting that same amount of energy that I put into speaking out throughout COVID into teaching kids about who they are. And that to me sounds like a a positive future.
All right. So this is something I didn't know about you till last
Yeah.
night.
Mhm.
Right. And I put it in there, the comments guy, or in the deal. So if you can grab this video really quick. You started the Juice Box Jukebox,
Mhm.
and it's been around for 7 years,
Mhm.
8 years,
Yeah.
almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, you have about, I don't know, almost 70,000 people that are following you on that.
Mhm.
But you built it, you created these videos, you wanted them for your kids,
Mhm.
and you put it out there so that parents could use it, teachers could use it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the teachers started using it.
Yeah.
Now you're over here doing protest music and talking about Joe Biden really not having any brains,
Mhm.
right? Or Fauci, don't even talk about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then the spirit of how you started this, and obviously I don't want to go back in history to, you've been singing for the last 24 years,
Yeah.
but you put this out there, and there's a song called "Thankful" that now is a raging hit all over the world. You have schools that are their choirs are singing this song,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
And you did it, and then you just kind of walked away from it and said, "Okay, I'm going to protest the protest music for 5 years."
Yeah.
And then
So, yeah, I didn't necessarily walk away from it. I put it off for a while, and then COVID happened,
wild.
and it sent me on a trajectory that
You took a swim.
I did. And
Yeah.
I don't regret it by any means, because I wouldn't be here today talking to you if I hadn't spent the last 4 or 5 years doing what I was doing. I think that's been part of God's plan for me personally. Is I started the Juice Box Jukebox with the purest of intentions, and it's been doing something really incredible around the world, and the feedback that I've gotten from it, that God allowed me to go and do something else for a little bit. And he said, look, this is going to keep growing. And when you're ready to come back to it, it'll be ready for you. And it'll be bigger than it was when you left it. And so like the Thankful video's got, I don't know, close to 9 million views now or something. And I get these letters from teachers that have been playing that music in the schools. And it's a very bipolar, it's been a bipolar thing to go from children's music to angry protest artists to back to kids music.
I mean, it almost gives you multiple personalities. Like,
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brad.
Right.
I'm here to talk to you about being thankful. Joe Biden,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I get triggered. But they're both extremely important parts of who I am, and what I want to put into the world. And they both come from a place as a father, as an individual, as a patriot,
It's still truthful.
yeah.
Yeah, you're still huge. I mean, you're focused on being truthful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that going into the future, as for what I'm doing, that's a great mindset to be in, is to just want to supply a tool to humanity for teachers and parents to use to instill these values into their kids.
All right, let me ask you a question. We talked about this last night. I got really excited about it. I was like, all right, kids, your son, 13, right? He's uncomfortable in his body, right? I always like to say, your balls haven't dropped. My son I used to tell him, his balls haven't dropped yet. He's like, well, his voice is getting darker or deeper. And I was like, yeah, but his balls haven't dropped. Still got a couple years left. Mm-hmm. They're at that weird stage, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have these groomers over here that are doing horrible things to young kids, indoctrinating them, grooming them into a lifestyle. It's like, oh no, the reason why you feel that way is that you might be a unicorn or a furry or, all these different things. Mm-hmm. I want to play this because I listened to it last night. I didn't go to sleep for a couple hours because I was listening to some of this music, and you created a 45-minute deal for parents. Mm-hmm. You have one that's like clean up. So the younger kids, the kindergarten, first grade, they're using it to get the kids to clean up their messes. Mm-hmm. And then there's this one for thankful, and it gives you perspective, and it allows kids to, it's almost like Blue's Clues. I don't want to say Baby Shark. I don't want to say.
Don't go there. Don't you do it. Don't do it, Joe.
It's better than that.
Put a lot more effort than Baby Shark.
Let's play it.
Everybody gets a heart. Everybody gets a soul. Everybody gets a mind to let them know that we can be smart, and we can be kind, and we can be living by giving and loving all the time. So on the days when it's feeling tough and it seems like you don't have enough, well, let's be thankful for our friends and family and grateful for the air that we breathe and appreciate everything that we have today. Let's be generous to anyone who has less than us. It's good to be compassionate, 'cause ever since the day you were born, yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for. Yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for. Everybody gets the land, and everybody gets a seed. So everybody lend a hand to those in need. 'Cause we can be nice,
we can be nice,
we can all share, and we can keep growing together. It's better when everyone cares. So on the days when it's feeling tough and it seems like you don't have enough, well, let's be thankful for our friends and family and grateful for the air that we breathe and appreciate everything that we have today. Let's be generous to anyone who has less than us. It's good to be compassionate, 'cause ever since the day you were born, yeah, you got a lot to be thankful for. Yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for. So, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family. I am thankful for my neighbor. I'm thankful for my dog. I'm thankful for the food I have to eat. I'm thankful for my heart. I am thankful for my grandma and grandpa. I'm thankful for my teacher. I am thankful for my house. We're thankful for the earth.
So on the days when it's feeling tough and it seems like you don't have enough, well, let's be thankful for our friends and family and grateful for the air that we breathe and appreciate everything that we have today. Let's be generous to anyone who has less than us. It's good to be compassionate, 'cause ever since the day you were born, yeah, you got a lot to be thankful for.
Thankful.
Yeah, you got a lot to be thankful for.
Grateful.
We've got a lot to be thankful for.
Appreciate.
Yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for.
Hey.
Got a lot to be lot to be thankful for. Yeah, got a lot to be thankful for.
Okay, I saw all the optimism. All the optimism in the world came out in that song.
Yep, there it is. Yep. I mean, that's the world that I want, and I know it's another side of things. It can be quite jarring to those that have discovered me through the silent war music that I've put out the last couple of years, but it is another crucially important part of what needs to take place out there. I mean, it is another form of protest because you're fighting against the other things that are indoctrinating
Disney.
our kids. Yeah, exactly.
You're fighting
I mean,
against Disney.
and it's Disney, it's Sesame Street, it's all been tainted at this point. We loved it growing up, and there's an agenda piped in now, and it's a formula. It's not just in there every now and again. It's a formula, and so what I'm hoping to do with Juicebox is get back to that pureness, and I think that there's a hunger for it. You can tell. I mean, that's why it's organically done what it's done. I think is you can tell that there's not an agenda piped into it. There's nowhere to go with it. You can't say, well, did you see what they slipped in there? No, you can't, because there's nothing slipped in there. There's nothing to argue with. And it just is teaching you to appreciate, what you have in front of you, which I think this generation needs, the younger kids. It's a simple thing. And it's where a lot of the songs come from for that. It's just character building stuff, but it's missing right now.
Are you going to go back to it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's been the sign the last couple of years for me is, like I said, I feel like God has taken care of that side of things for me and said, look, go do.
Just kind of held on to it.
Yeah.
But now we're heading into a different season where it's pretty detrimental. We have, 2026 is, it almost feels like they like the drama. They like the angst that it creates in the people.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that also, what goes hand in hand with the drama on social media is also, um, breaks in your feed, puppies, puppies, kids, stuff that does make you feel good. It does go a long way because it is a break from the darkness that permeates through social media. But there has to be a bright spot, all the time. And
Says who?
says me.
Okay, all right. I'm glad this is called a Bradism.
There has to be a bright.
Here. It's happening.
Well, if there's not, then what are you doing? If you do get sucked into this vortex that we're screwed, and there's nothing on the other side, then you should throw in the towel, because what are you fighting for? And that's something that drives me, is that there is, you asked me about my kids and their future. It's like, well, I'm fighting for a good future. I don't know what that looks like. It's hopefully better than I can imagine, but I'll do whatever I can to create that as best I can for them.
I feel as if it does make you bipolar.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think that you'll have parents that will embrace your music for children, and other parents that'll be like, I'm running away from him. I don't care what the message is. He's a trumpet.
Well, it's happened. I mean, that's been a funny thing the last couple of years, is that some people have discovered me through protest music, and then they find this side of me and they're like, oh, that's just great. This I can show this to my kids because I know where your values align. Then there's other people that will find Juicebox first. Yeah.
And they get over to the other side, like, "Argh."
Then they go, what else has he done? Oh no. So they do cross, but that happens regardless. I mean, we deal with that all the time. We have mainstream music that we in messaging that we justify, that a lot of the conservative right will justify, right? And we let it permeate our household and influence our kids, and we justify it even though we don't agree with it. And so that's part of the battle too, is, you know, I'm going to do what I do, and you can take it or leave it. And, if we disagree politically, whatever, are you going to go through every single
Before
thing?
2020, we didn't have that problem. If
We
you didn't
right.
disagree,
That was
it's
the
fine.
world before. And I often say that to people is, if you're going to discount my work because we disagree on X, Y, and Z, are you also, and you're going to say this online and make you know, a big thing out of it, are you going through the rest of your DVD collection and your CDs and, you know, figuring out who did what and what their political beliefs are? Because it doesn't work that way. So you can take it or leave it. And
I mean, I had a Bruce Springsteen CD. I threw it away
well, that's fine. The
because
guy, yeah,
he's kind of a nutball.
yeah. Well, COVID shot only shows by the boss,
Yeah,
kind of tainted that, and that's your choice. That's the thing.
he's
But
a weirdo, man. He's a weirdo.
yeah,
He was a
a
weirdo.
lot of them are, and that certainly showed its true colors. I think a lot of those guys showed their true colors throughout that time as well. And I've written about that. And that's just part of it. But I think that's my battle, is the cultural battle, and how entertainment influences what we do. And I enjoy that battle because it's been one way for so long.
Yeah.
And I've seen both sides of it. I mean, it's when Trump every time he walks out to a song that somebody goes, "Oh, I didn't give Trump the rights to do that. I hate MAGA, and I'm going to sue them for using my song." They do it every time, and that's part of the battle. You go, well, why didn't you use somebody that does support him? Why don't you guys start?
Well, because they can't. I mean, it's the kind of the work that you put out. It created its own environment of protest.
Mm-hmm.
But most, even independents or mainstream singers or actors, they have to remain silent.
Mm-hmm.
And silence is consent. I mean, they're consenting to what's happening to the people
Mm-hmm.
by remaining silent, and yet they do it anyway.
Yeah.
And we're expected to say, well, they're like, I just make music. I don't have to be politically involved.
Mm-hmm.
You have other people like LeBron James that
Mm-hmm.
can't get enough of speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I think it's all tied into their contracts and their branding and who owns them and stuff. But that's the great thing about where I'm at, is I've always been independent, and I think a lot of that made me to be the artist that I was to become. My journey led me to be free, to be able to speak out without worrying about who I was really going to upset or the contract that I was going to break. And it's a freeing place to be. And I think you're seeing more artists that are speaking up, and I'm not the only one, for sure. There's a lot of great other artists out there, but we do have to lift them up and support them, and the community. That's how you really change things. Is you start building this stuff so it's so big that it's like Thankful. Like, we just played that song. That song has grown, and it's permeating the culture. What I wanted to do with Juicebox was create a song. One of my goals was to create a song like "Won't You Be My Neighbor" that everybody just knows. And it's
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, like,
You just want
everybody just knows it. It's just one of those songs that just floats in the air. Everybody knows it. They don't know the first time they heard it, but it's there, and it's a good one. It's a good positive thing, and that's something that I hope to accomplish with the kids' music, is to create that song that kids grow up with, and everybody just sort of knows it, and it changes things for the better.
All right. Well, we talked about your music, which is amazing. We listened to it today. You had to listen to your own music
Yeah,
while you played golf.
I like golf. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's your first day golfing. Is it your
Yeah.
first time golfing?
Very first time
Picking up a golf club.
picking up a golf club to play real golf.
And you
Yeah.
did really, really well.
Thank you.
Really well. Matter of fact, we have a clip.
Oh, good.
This is we got to have a little bit of fun with this. So we got Brad out there, and you would not have known that he did not play golf before. I thought it was amazing. Do we have that ready? Can we cue that video? Play it. What's happening here? What are you doing here? All right, one.
Check it out. Patience, breathe.
What? Two. And all right, bounce a little bit. Boom. Ah, shit.
Okay. Look.
So that wasn't the best shot. You had some great shots.
I actually, I had a great time, honestly. And now that is not the best example of my work today out on the green, but it was great. I mean, I was just happy to hit the ball, honestly. If I hit it, that's all that counted for me today. And I did that.
All right. So I happen to have another video.
Okay.
That was, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, this was, and for those of you guys that are not golfers, I'm a golfer. I love golfing. And you hit a screaming shot, par 3. And I'm sending 2, so you guys will get 2 of them. Play them in that order. Yeah. But you hit a ball.
Yeah.
You went through every emotion known to man in a 3-minute period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I impressed myself and then was extremely disappointed in myself. Like, oh, right. Yes. Oh, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad, but
every golfer's dream and nightmare is you hit a ball within 6 feet of the hole.
Yeah.
And by this time you were feeling good.
Yeah. I was like, this is it.
I got you. This is gonna
might go pro.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's play the first one. This is a par 3. It is the 7th hardest hole on the course. Let's go ahead and play it because you examined this perfectly. Your first birdie.
Faking it.
Like a champ.
All right. No pressure. So close. Watch this. I had hope. Nope. Dream shattered. I was so close.
So then you walked up and you could have had a par. I mean,
yeah,
knocked in the par. So let's play that.
Oh, man. You got the whole thing, didn't you?
Take your time. This is serious. Center of the car. On the green.
No. Are you serious?
Wait, we can wait for the
sun. Well, that was, I just went through every emotion again, rewatching it. I just felt like when I made it to the green on that one, I was like, this is it. Things are turning around. I've got it. And then I had all that hope built up on that second stroke, and then it just passed, just glided right by the hole. And
like, how do you feel when you get it? You're like, I don't know. I don't actually know how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I know. It was just, I had hopes of, I was borderline about to give up music and start a golfing career. And then that just put me in my place.
And but you were convinced.
Yeah.
You talked to your wife was going to support you in that on the tour.
Like this is where I need to be.
It's a real thing. I know that feeling of
the kids are going to be like, Daddy doesn't play guitar around the house anymore. He just leaves, goes golfing.
What did Mark say? We're going to ruin your marriage.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I had a great time because, like I said, I did much better than I anticipated. I just thought I'd be driving the wedge into the dirt for most of the day. And
no, you hit it really well. Yeah.
I had great coaches. I learned from the best out there.
Yeah. We tried to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
The next thing we should have done is when we were done with the golf balls, thrown them in the air and shot them with shotgun.
That's the next thing. Next time I come out, we're going to do that. We're going to shoot golf balls.
I was watching Tucker Carlson hit at Sean Ryan's place. He shoot.
Mhm.
He was shooting some 357s, some long, I think it's a Henry 357 or a 44. And he actually hit a couple of things. So we should probably go shoot some guns. I know Mark has a good place for us to shoot some guns.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, bro, thanks for anything you want to tell people about you that they don't know. Other than the fact that
we
you're an
covered
expert
a lot
golfer?
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of my golfing career. No, I mean, thanks for having me. This has been a blast. And if you want to follow 5 Times August on X, just look up 5 Times August. Check out the website, 5timesaugust.com. Got a new CD out for Counterfeit World. And, if you've got kids, check out the Juicebox Jukebox.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't normally put this stuff out there. The Juicebox Jukebox. Look, if you have kids, if you have grandkids that are under 10, 11, it's literally the place to go. And there's a 45-minute one. If your kids are under the age of 4 and you happen to be the one that is handing them a phone, at least lock it into the 45-minute, which is all 10 of the...
all 14.
14.
You got the whole album there, and it's just all the songs, all the videos in a row. And it's like playing a DVD,
So we have these DVDs because I thought that said Taylor Swift. I was like, please don't put that in my hands.
No.
So it's the Now Hear This. This is what you'd have for the Juicebox Jukebox. And then if you we got all of them.
Yeah, I just gave you a handful of my works.
Silent War. This is a great DVD. Great.
It's great to listen to while you golf.
Yeah, I think you probably should from now on though just get they have the new ones that are the plugins. You can plug it into your phone and it just uploads it. You seen those?
No.
They're like little zip drives, and you just plug it in the bottom of your phone. And it basically just sucks it into recordings. And you can listen to music that way.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's the way people are trying to get past the
streaming stuff.
Having to pay $12.
You still own it, but it's not so bulky.
Yeah, it's just a little disc,
like a little USB kind of situation.
USB-C. Is that what they call it? USB-C.
Cool.
Anyway, it's a way that people can listen to music and download music
it's great
without feeling like they're giving up the house.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
All right. Well,
cool.
In the meantime, go to YouTube, go to X, 5 Times August. We have a joke that we've been saying. It's called 6 Times September. Don't go to 6 Times September.
No, that's the fake one.
That's
the knockoff brand.
Yeah. We had a picture of David wearing a shirt that said 6 Times September.
Oh yeah, he's the brainchild behind my my troll identity. 6 Times September.
All right. So I do have a couple other things. You're welcome to stick around for this stuff and give your thoughts on it. We have a few things that are pretty pressing that will make you depressing. So I probably should go over it without you.
Yeah.
Just because I want you to maintain your enthusiasm.
Oh, good.
And your positiveness.
Okay.
Because frankly, it is infectious. And I'm going to go be negative for the next 20 minutes.
Okay, I'll leave.
All right. Thanks for coming into the
Thanks,
studio.
buddy. Yeah, I appreciate
you.
Thanks.
So, everyone, Brad, follow him 5 Times August. All right. I'll talk to you soon. All right. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Somali pirates in the country. They're actually here stealing things. And to make matters worse, the police chiefs and all the other people, they're supporting it. This is what I mean by stupid. We cater to the stupid. And it's gotten to the point now where just rip the Band-Aid off. Insurrection Act, arrest 50,000 of these judges and politicians, throw them in jail. At this point, what do you think they're going to do to us in a couple of years? Right? Get ahead of it. And if you don't, we're in big trouble. So we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Democrat Party and what they're becoming, what they've done. Right back. Hey, this is just in from Fidelity. Gold could hit $4,000 an ounce as the Federal Reserve cuts rates to cushion the U.S. economy. The dollar drops and the central bank keeps adding holdings.
Gold has been on a record-breaking tear over the last few years, and it doesn't look to be slowing down in the years to come. Are your savings protected with precious metals like gold and silver? Are you waiting for gold and silver to shoot even higher in price? I want you to call my gold partner, Goldco, today and learn more about what precious metals can do for you. That's 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll get info on the #1 precious metal offer in the game, where you can get up to 10% back in bonus silver just for getting started. But supplies are limited, so don't put it off. Call my gold partner, Goldco, at 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-4653 or visit untamedgold.com. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
All right, so we got to learn a lot about Brad and 5 Times August and the stuff that he does with Juicebox Jukebox. I looked it up and I added it all together, and he had over 100 million listens across the board for all of his videos. So I did say to him last night, I was like, "Look, you have an opportunity to gravitate from the protests, although you could probably protest what's happening right now in our government." To give people a voice, give these 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, even the kids that are in high school, a voice to what is really happening, talking directly to what they're dealing with. So I think he's going to probably do a little bit more with that, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. But let's talk about these updates on the discovery of fraud that happened in Minnesota and involving Governor Tim Walz. So here's a post from Minnesota's DHS. It says, breaking: Minnesota's DHS blowing the whistle on Tim Walz, saying he's 100% responsible for the state's massive fraud. He ignored the numerous warnings, retaliated with threats and surveillance, hid fraud reports, and falsely inflated budget surpluses by misusing temporary federal ARPA funds to mask deficits. Now, if this is true, and the reason why I'm saying if it is true, is because every time we turn around, we say these things. We said what was happening with Dominion, nothing happened, nobody's been arrested. He said that we're going to get to the bottom of all the corruption that's happening with judges in our country, and nothing's happened. We said that we had already uncovered and have a plethora of information related to the fraud that exists, even in what we're dealing with in Minnesota, for for people just basically stealing money from the American people, nothing happens. Nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. So I say to myself, okay, is it true? Because don't you arrest people that commit crimes? Well, we keep uncovering more stuff. You couldn't uncover more fraud than exists. You couldn't. It's not even possible. They've been caught 100 times, but all they do is say, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. And okay, no problem, just go. You're free to go. Here's a cut where they have voter fraud. A voter fraud case in Minnesota. It ties back to this Somali community, which frankly, it's gotten out of hand. But let's go ahead and play it.
Allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties. Esme Murphy has been following this case, and she joins us now. Esme?
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties, between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations. And that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involves scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged.
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the 2 workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now, the hearing left a lot of people, including us, with a lot of questions that were not answered. One of the big ones,
It's all kabuki theater, because you're not going to get to the bottom of it. You're going to say that the system works. It's more of the narrative. This is, you can't ignore the fact that all of this over and over and over again gets back to the fact that they're not going to solve the problem. You want to solve the problem, you get rid of machines, mail-in ballots, clean the voter rolls, make sure they have an ID in person, make sure it's on election day. You just have to vote one day. You get extended voting hours for those people that are ADA or unable to vote that day. And you, frankly, just make sure that you hem it up. You hem up all the things having to do with the election, get rid of the machines because there's no transparency. Get rid of the mail-in ballots, no transparency. But instead, you develop a system where you could just basically steal the voice of the American people and enslave them. Headed down a slippery slope. Here's Tim Walz on the NBC running cover for the Somalis who stole billions of taxpayer dollars in Minnesota. This is unbelievable. Cut 3.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
It was $1 billion. You stupid fool. and just a few. No, it's a criminal enterprise. But our government is run in large part as a criminal enterprise. They get to take from you whatever they want. Give up to Caesar what is Caesar's? Well, Caesar would say, does he get 56 cents on every dollar? You have 10% that you give to your charities and faith-based church, and 56 cents on every dollar goes to these criminals? And he could say that, oh, Minnesota's a generous state. That's his response. Minnesota deserves everything that they get because the people are not willing to stand up and do what is right in order to stop them from continuing this charade. It's not just Minnesota. The federal government is in real trouble right now. The federal government has been overtaken by a system that in 2004, designed by Clinton Curtis, gave them the ability to steal elections for nearly 20 years. It has been a slow run through all of our institutions. We can see it in real time, what's happening with judges. And in large part, I know President Trump is being told it's too late. The ship has sailed. We're going to do what we can, but frankly, there's too many of them. Instead of signing the Insurrection Act and getting to the point where you arrest 40, 50,000 people who are standing against the Constitution of the United States and against the American people, that's why I say that President Trump is waiting for the American people to do something. That's why I keep talking about the fact that we're not even remotely out of the woods. And President Trump can't do anything without the American people mobilizing. Here's a former ICE official I'm going to play this first. It was confirmed in New York City that they're basically shielding over 7,000 predators from ICE. Over 7,000 predators. Play it.
Of justice. We're seeing that these criminal illegal aliens are exiting the jails and going back onto New York or Chicago or these other sanctuary streets to re-perpetuate their crimes. Today, in New York City's jails are 7,169 criminal illegal aliens. We're talking about hundreds of murderers, hundreds of sexual predators, drug traffickers, the worst of the worst. Dan Goldman and these other sanctuary city politicians, they should agree to hand over those individuals, honor those detainers, and then we won't have to flood the zone with our ICE law enforcement. We won't have to put those men and women on the ground because we will get these vicious criminals out of New York City's jails.
Right. It's.
But they're not going to do that because solving problems is not something that most people know how to do. Most people don't know how to solve the simplest of problems. They can't see the forest through the trees. And this is a simple problem to solve. These are criminals. They've committed crimes. You put them back on the street, they'll commit another crime. Either strengthen the rules so that they face the death penalty for being a sexual predator, or turn them over to ICE now and let them send them down to Venezuela or whatever country is down south. Let them deal with their own problem. Here's a former ICE official with sources inside NYPD claiming that the commissioner's office is deliberately leaking ICE raid details. Play it. And here's Secretary Noem. We think up to 100,000 people came in under Operation Allies Welcome. This has a lot to do with what is happening with the Afghanis. That, man, they're mobilizing for something. I'm telling you, it's about to happen. Let's play it.
You asked how many people came in. We think up to 100,000 people came in under Operation Allies Welcome that may be here that we don't know necessarily who they are or why they came to this country. If they came here truly maybe for asylum, or if they were someone who had nefarious ideas on how to attack Americans or to undermine our way of life. What I would say on the vetting process is that has to happen before they ever come here. They have to be vetted before we allow them to get on a plane and come to the United States of America so that we know what their their intentions are and who they are. And in order for us to do that, I know from the Department of Homeland Security standpoint, we have to have another government and another country that cooperates with us, that shares information with us, that will help us check dates of service and collect biometric information and data. That wasn't done by Joe Biden. It wasn't done by his administration. They did a vetting process, but it wasn't thorough. They didn't look at social media platforms, and that's all of the changes that President Trump is implementing.
You ever wonder where you have the FBI talking about the fact that, violent crimes down 20%? Well, that's great, but the other 80% still exist and persist. And the biggest problems that we face in our society is a lack of opportunity because they've been swallowed up by a small group of people that are basically sucking all the cash and all the air out of the room. And we can't fix it as the Americans. You can't fix it. There's no way to fix it. How do you fix a problem that's so pervasive and is caused by the fact that Americans don't have a right to their own self-determination? You're completely shut out of the process. You have leaders on both sides of the aisles that have mastered dog whistles and said, oh, we're doing such great things. We're bringing back manufacturing jobs. We're doing all of these things that are great for America. The average business literally is starving to death. And hiring people, you can't even get. We just went through the process of getting healthcare coverage for employees. And the rates went up 43%. 43%. Let me just do the math for you. We have somebody that works for us that's 67 years old. At 67 years old, his rates last year were $1,540. $1,540. This year they're $2,271. $2,271 for healthcare. Oh, and its deductible is $6,000 a year per person for him and his wife. Now we pick up half that. So we pick up $1,100 as a company. We'll pick up $1,100. He has to pick up the other $1,143. You're talking about $26,000 a year for healthcare coverage. $26,000 a year. No one in this country is happy. The Democrats aren't happy. The Republicans aren't happy. But the Democrats are doing some really nefarious things to hurt Americans. They don't care about Americans. And every time we get closer and closer to a place where I'm like, listen, you just rip the Band-Aid off. We get the other side speak that says, oh, we really are happy about what happened during COVID. Oh, yeah, we're bringing back manufacturers' jobs. Look at all these guys. They're pouring billions of dollars into America. Well, they're really not. They're just taking the billions of dollars we actually pushed out to them and saying, oh, well, but we're going to give it back to you as a rebate. Make it look like you're doing something. It's kabuki theater. We have, Brad gave up 5 years of his life. There's so many people that have given up years of their lives thinking to themselves, we're going to get to the bottom of it. But we never asked ourselves the simple question. And that is, do they even understand the problem? Do they understand what Americans are really hurting and what they really need? We talked about the Affordable Care Act. It wasn't affordable. Help America Vote Act. Well, it didn't help America vote. It helped them cheat. We talk about Dominion voting systems. I think it's probably the first thing that they actually named that it was designed to do what it was told to do, and that is to reign over the people. Now they called it Liberty Vote because somewhere along the line they're going to make it seem like they're doing liberty and giving people back their rights, which they're not. And we live in a state of ridiculousness. Our government is ridiculous. And then we have these social media influencers, and you got social platforms that operate as gatekeepers on what message, what opportunity, what is allowed to be heard, what isn't allowed to be heard. More of the same theater. Democrats have rounded up 700,000 illegals over the last 4 years. and moved them across the globe, putting them on private jets and flying them to any U.S. city they wanted, all paid by you. Now, if you don't do exactly what they say, they get to come and they get to audit you and take things from you and stick. And if you criticize FBI Director Kardashian Patel, now you get lawfare and they can sue you for $5 million. And then you'll have the same tired influencers that stood out there holding little books and saying how great they are, that'll sit there and tell you that, it's these are legitimate people. They're doing good work. Look at all the good work they're doing. They're really not. There is zero progress in the last 11 months that has been made that helped the American people. Zero. Oh, I'm sorry. J6ers got pardoned. Some of them. Others like Joe Biggs and others lost all their benefits. All of them. Served in the military, didn't do anything wrong, wasn't there on J6, charged with sedition, sentenced to over 20 years in prison, get a commutation because, God forbid you give them a pardon. Tina Peters rots in jail, got all the evidence, 4 reports. And because these pieces of shit can go out there and say that there's no evidence in those 4 reports, it becomes the law of the land. It's like concrete. And you can't explain it because you're too stupid to hire people that know what is in the reports and what is being done and what is to gather them all up. Just gather up the experts, sit them in a room and say, explain it to us. Now help us write a report, a brief that we can put in front of a judge. And then they don't want to do that because you put it in front of the judge is just going to be like, throw it out. There's no standing. There's no operation for it. So the only thing you have left is to sign this thing called the Insurrection Act and arrest 50,000 people and start hanging people for treason. That's all you got left. You're out of chess pieces. There's no other chess pieces on the table. Well, let's wait till 2026 until we really take a shellacking, and then we'll do something about it. By that time, you're looking at an impeachment. And by the way, the Republicans are going to turn against you as well. It is absurd. Most Americans, Democrat, Republican, Independent, think that what has happened over the last 6 years is absurdity. And I use that going into 2020 because 2020 was absurd. You killed off millions of Americans. You turned ivermectin into horse paste and said that it was not a good prophylactic, even though it is. Up and to the point where Pfizer decided, hey, we're going to take ivermectin, we're going to make it more expensive, and we're going to call it Pfizermectin. See, before it cost 2 to 3 cents a pill to make. You literally could get 50 pills for $10. Now, if you get 50 pills, it costs you $100. Supply and demand, right? Only it's impossibly easy to make it, compounding it. But they're like, oh, demand's high. We're just going to charge them through the roof and rape the American people some more. Oh, and Pfizer-Mexin, if you want that, that's $5 a pill. We'll just pass it on to the pharmaceutical companies. But now it's a prophylactic. Every time we turn around, they get to lie to us more and more and more and more and more. We have a terrorist network in our country, and it basically is in our government. And I don't know what the end game is for them, but I know what it should be for us. We have to fight the ridiculous every day, and you shouldn't even give the ridiculous air. Stephen Miller had something really good to say. I thought, interesting. Democrat Party, via the Biden-Harris terrorist administration, devised a scheme to import illegal aliens to the country by the millions, granting them parole. You sniff the edges. How about you talk about the problem? And the problem is that we have been going down this path where judges, politicians, and bureaucrats have been stacked in what can only be described as a coup of magnificent proportion. And now we're sitting on the sidelines waiting for some sort of miracle. Well, God may intervene, but it's going to be the second coming and or something much, much more devastating.
But you know that the problem exists, and we wait. We're indecisive. Fear of loss settles in, which, by the way, anytime you operate from fear of loss, if we would have operated on the beaches of Normandy out of fear of loss, we never would have gone onto those beaches. But our politicians don't have the stomach for it. Because if they're wrong and they did, or they're not successful, then they will actually go to jail. Show the people you're willing to dance, and the people will stand up and help you dance. But continue down this path where you basically want to make it some sort of theater. No one will have any interest, and no one will support you. You can't even get Tina Peters out of jail. That's how much power you don't have. Is that they could charge her with something you know is directly related to getting into the system, and the very people that were responsible for her going to jail still get to eat caviar and still work as government informants. And we know that the CIA is corrupt to the core, and we do nothing about it. All right. Go ahead and play this out for Stephen Miller. That'll be my last clip, and then I'll pray us out.
It for your audience perfectly, Sean. This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party. It's the same attack that we see, Sean, when you have California, a sanctuary state, that is refusing to turn over even illegal alien criminals and gang members to ICE. So these are illegal aliens in California who have been arrested by California police, by California law enforcement for serious crimes, for crimes against children, for felonies, for crimes that threaten public safety, and they are refusing to hand these criminal illegal aliens over to ICE. Instead, they're freeing them back into the cities to offend and offend again. By any definition, what California is doing is criminal. It is a violation of our laws. It is one of the most heinous things that I have seen in my entire.
Then arrest them. It's illegal, but you won't arrest them. And I already know what the answer is. You know that you can't get through the judiciary. It basically is a stopgap that have allowed them to use lawfare in order to basically impede everything that is good about this country. And you sit back and you watch it happen. Sign the Insurrection Act. Let's get to the dirty part. Let's just get to the part where we actually take care of the people in this country. Make America, you're not going to make America great again. You're going to make America die if you don't do something drastic. All right, let's pray. Father God, thank you for having Brad on today. Thank you for the work that he did for protesting and creating music that we could understand what was really happening in our society. We live in a counterfeit world, and Father, yet we are so grateful for the blessings that we have, the opportunities that we've been afforded up until this point. We recognize that we are in a place with a rotted out core foundation that is just shaky at best. And we don't exactly know which way to take this, Father. So I just ask you to give us the strength and the ability to stand up and to do the right thing, and that you can guide us in restoring you to our community, to our country. Help us, Father, that we may fight against the people that are trying to overthrow the United States government, overthrow all that is good about our society. It's gotten to the point where there's not much left, not much connected tissue. And we sit on the sidelines and we wait for people to do the right thing, and they're not going to. But Father, I just ask you to help us to be the ones, to be the catalyst for them to be forced to do the right thing.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire.
back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave